DRIPLOC Type 2 Hinge Kit install instructions. Tools required. You will need a drill with a 3/8 nut driver, gloves, safety glasses, 1/2-inch wrench, supplied Allen wrench, and an angle grinder with a cut-off wheel. Installing hinge leaves. Slip one hinge leaf onto the fan base and slide it toward the outside edge of the fan. Place a hinge cap on top of the hinge leaf. Install 2 bolts with nuts and washers through the hinge leaf and hinge cap. Hand tighten the bolts to hold the hinge components in place without over-tightening. Follow these same steps to install a hinge leaf and hinge cap at the other corner of the fan base. Installing hinge axles. The hinge axles have slotted keyways near the end. Slide a hinge axle through each hinge leaf, ensuring the keyways are positioned near the middle of the fan. Slide each axle into the axle coupler, aligning the keyways with the set screw holes. Secure the connection by installing 4 set screws into the coupler and ensure the axle coupler is centered with the fan base. Install axle mounting brackets. Choose mounting holes on the side brackets that allow them to be positioned as close to the fan base as possible. Note that the axle mounting brackets can be installed at angles, on reducers, and other challenging configurations to fit almost any fan. Securely attach the brackets on both sides of the fan base using supplied zip screws. Verify everything is properly aligned and fits well. Then use a 1/2-inch wrench to tighten the bolts on the hinge leaves and secure the nuts holding the hinge caps. Attach an axle retainer to both ends of the axle to prevent movement. Cut off any excess axle extending beyond the corners to eliminate snag hazards. You can use a saw with a stainless steel compatible blade, but we recommend using an angle grinder with a cut-off wheel. Installing safety chains. Install a zip screw in the upper front corner of the fan base as high as possible to avoid interfering with the fan base when closed. Back the screw out and secure one end of the chain to the fan base. Pull the chain tight toward the back of the fan and mark a link that aligns with the rear of the fan base. This measurement method usually supplies the correct amount of chain for holding the fan in the open position. Move back to the front of the fan and install a zip screw through the marked link at the front of the fan, positioning it just below the fan base. Tip the fan back to test the chain length. The fan should lean back far enough so its weight keeps it in the open position. The fan's center of gravity should be well past the rear hinge axle, so it can't be accidentally bumped closed or pushed closed by wind. It should take some effort to pull the fan back forward. If the fan doesn't tip back sufficiently, extend the chain by a few links to allow it to tip back further. Install the chain on the opposite side of the fan base using the same process. Ensure both chains are of equal length, so the fan rests evenly on them. This completes the Type 2 Hinge Kit install.